Matt, Gannon, Jers. We are back. This is technically Fast Greens, but also on Boots Weeks, we often do a Tuesday Night Boots pod. We'll take the vibes of Fast Greens, hopefully speedy, talking about a lot of different things. But we were out there again today. Great day of Boots. And so there's got to be some stuff to chat with the folks about, to chat with the listeners. Shout out the train. The train, the ability to just...
Modern technology. A big day for modern technology. Big day.
Every time I ride the train in the Northeast, I'm always like, this is great. It really is great. You know, there's pros and cons of everywhere. That's definitely one of the pros up here, because to be able to be back, get settled in for card construction time, for figuring out where you want to go with your bets, it's nice to be back at the home station.
Yeah, everyone knows card construction time is some of the most sacred time one has during the week. So huge shout out to modern technology. We can call this like medium speed greens, like Philly cricket greens, because we're going to be talking through our normal fast green stuff and then adding a little bit more tidbits from Boots, from just funny tidbits as well. So excited for medium speed greens.
Speaking of the green speeds, I saw something today. I think you caught it out of the corner. I think you didn't see it fully on the greens from Hideki that I've never seen before.
No, yeah, this is a good story. Good way to lead this off.
Yeah, because Hideki was striping it as he tends to do. And we've said a million times, actually, he doesn't tend to do that in practice rounds. The practice round report, the Boots report on Hideki, should permanently and always be completely ignored. We set that rule long ago. But then at players, I saw some really dark things from Hideki. I faded him. I said I'm out on Hideki. It was the first time ever my eyes backed it up. And so then today I wanted to see him again, get a sense for the vibes. And the vibes were great. And he was striping. And on 4, he hits it to like 6 feet. I'm like, here we go. This is looking great. He misses low on the putt, just not enough speed. It completely dies off. He was so flabbergasted by how slow the greens were. He got down on his hands and knees in front of his caddy and was wiping the greens and was like, basically, they're so slow. I think there's going to be spots that are faster, but that was one of the funnier Boots moments I've ever seen. And for it to be Hideki, of all people, who's not usually showing that type of emotion in a practice round.
Yeah, from him speaking to his ball in English to him going on the floor, rubbing the greens, seeing, and he was definitely. I saw him in distraught of how slow the putt was. I didn't see him. I must have turned around when he did that, but the vibes were great from Hideki, striping beyond measure, and like we said, always take the Hideki report with a grain of salt, because we've been, not us, everyone has been, everyone's wrong on Hideki in practice rounds, because he's a guy who one hand finishes it and puts it to 3 feet. Everyone knows that about Hideki. You know, he's never know what to take from him. But yeah, did look great and did show some funny things for sure.
So we'll go with that speed of greens. A little bit faster. We'll go a little bit faster than what the Philly Cricket Club greens currently are. We'll talk some DFS plays, probably from down the board. I've highlighted some plays in the 6K range, Jers, that I want to talk about. Probably one bet. I've got 2 bets in, Jers. Is your card locked in yet, or where do you stand right now?
Hashtag card done. Yep, we're there.
Okay, there's a couple guys that we talked about a lot when we were there. We talked about them a lot up on the site that were easy starting points for me, but now I'm kind of stuck after those 2 guys. But we'll talk down the card a little bit. But why don't you start off with just generally today, any major changes to anything that you said yesterday on the podcast? Your chance to go wipe anything from yesterday from the record and change it if you saw something different, or more or less the same as yesterday for people who listen to that pod.
Yeah, the only thing I don't think I want to change, but I think we spoke a little bit too highly on Xander yesterday. But with that being said, it probably still was the best we've seen him. Definitely, or I've seen him this year, because I've seen him all year long. Definitely an asterisk on best, because I have seen pretty poor things from him this year. So, but we're, I guess, trending in the right direction. With that being said, still not Xander of 2024. He's not there yet.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm TBD on my final stance on Xander. I think he's definitely not as dialed as I felt yesterday, but I do think there's something about this style of golf course. Even just because, as we've talked about before, you do some boots, you go back at the end of the day. I'm still looking at guys' performance. Honestly, what I think has interested me the most at this point, we talked about it yesterday, this just place being the most bent golf course that's ever existed. I'm really interested in how you've played on comp courses at the end of the day, because this is a course where if you're comfortable, it's not overly difficult. It's not super easy, but if you're playing well, it's hard to really make a ton of mistakes. And so if you're comfortable in these conditions, you've played well on similar types of golf courses, I'm going to be interested in you this week. With that being said, let's start actually with, let's just go right out of the gates for the people. Give me what's one of the best that you've locked in so far on the card. Who would you say is whether they're your favorite or your favorite value bet, you can tease it up however you see fit. But just taking what you just said about any changes that you had thinking about the course, it sounds like you're pretty locked in on your kind of opinion on how the course is going to play. Maybe touch on why this player also matches up what you're looking for.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on what you just led me into. It's the most bent golf course of all time. Victor Hovland, guy that we saw a lot of today, a guy that we saw before when we saw the course. We didn't see any players really because that was early. No one was out there. We both said to ourselves, "This is as Victor as it gets." Whether he looked good, whether he looked bad, before we saw anything, we were like, "This is a Victor golf course." And then going on boots, we saw some not perfect signs, but we saw some good signs from Victor. But the stats leading into his this week are been solid from Vic. Obviously, won a few weeks back, and more than anything, looked as confident and as upbeat, happy as we've seen Vic in literally legitimate years. He's playing with his boys. He's got no coach. We've seen him play so many solo rounds with Mayo and coaches that he's playing normal practice rounds now. And I talked to you before we went, like, because when we when we said this is a Victor golf course, we need to see Victor. I said to you, we're not going to see Victor. He doesn't practice because every single week I'm out there, Victor's grinding on the range, or grinding short game, or grinding swing feels. That was not the case this week. He is. I mean, he's not swinging A+ perfectly, but he is competent back into his flow of things and playing golf more than anything. So Victor Hovland, 25 to 30 to 1 in that range.
Yeah, there's a 30 to 1 on Bet Online at the moment. I think on other books. Let's just look right now. There you go. Yeah, 25 to 1 on DraftKings FanDuels of the world. And it's funny that you say Victor Hovland, because when we do picks on the show, we don't talk about him ahead of time. Obviously, we were at Boots talking about a lot of these players together, sharing, relatively similar thoughts, but I don't think we always agree. If you read the stuff on the site, obviously we always have our own opinions. Sometimes you like a guy, I fade a guy. Sometimes you fade a guy, I like a guy. But I didn't know you were going to say Victor Hovland. I was going to say Victor Hovland Jers at 30 to 1 on Bet Online. We'll ride together. I think this is likely going to be the only player that we're riding together on this week. And for me, at the end of the day, the vibes are right with Victor. I don't care if he finishes last place this week or first place. I saw such a player, and it matches what he said. Go read back interviews from Hovland over the last few weeks. He's saying he feels better. He's saying he's seeing more of the shots that he wants to hit. It's still not perfect. I'm concerned with some of the iron shots that I saw him hitting, but at the same time, his iron play stats have been really good. I actually was more impressed with his driving on some of the more difficult holes today than anything else. But at the end of the day, we're talking to a guy who won the Valspar, was T21 at the Masters, was T13 at Heritage, which I think is up there with, if not his best finish at Hilton Head before, one of his best finishes. And now he comes to the style of golf course where he's had so much success. He's 30 to 1. Yeah, he was 70, 80 to 1 when he went at the Valspar. Awesome. And if you hit that, great call. More power to you. I still think when you consider how many tournaments Vic has won, any form at all, take out any of the stats, take out any of the bent stuff, what we saw, I just think it's a fair number at 30 to 1.
Fair number. Yeah, I mean, just think about when Victor was in good form when he was winning. He was no more than like 15, 16, 17 to 1 when he was like in decent form, and we're trending towards that Victor form. And this is truthfully, I think, the best course for Victor I've ever seen, specifically because of the around the green stuff. It is very benign around the green, which is obviously his kryptonite. So I'm happy we're aligned there. Everyone knows when two people are aligned on one show, it doesn't really go well, but we ride. We didn't gear this up beforehand, so hopefully it goes well.
Yeah, I would say the fact that we just agreed on a player on the value play of the week on fast greens, that will hurt Victor's chances this week. I don't think there's any question about that. Like, as soon as you were saying that, I was like, we got to ride together on the show. And so I had to make Vic my play. And that's who I was going to make it. And then because the other guy who I placed a bet on, I feel like it's more risky. I feel more confident in Vic. So
All right,
I
Vic
had
it
my
up.
moment on the show
Imagine
together.
we can Vic Lab Vic. That would be nations.
If Vic, but yeah, all these things being said, if Vic wins, this clip will be a highlight of the Boots journey for sure, and a great Boots journey, I think, all around. One of my favorites, purely from the experience. Maybe probably not my, the peak favorite, just because things like Scotland Pine, there's some things that are just like, damn, this is so sick. But from being able to watch the golf, as we said yesterday, shout out to PGA Tour, shout out for giving us the opportunity to get there on Monday and Tuesday and see the course with effectively no people there. I've never been that close.
No one there.
I have a picture of you standing like right next to JT and Greller and Spieth as they're teeing off on 18. And it's like, first of all, what are we even doing here? How did we
What a world.
what a world that we're here. And we couldn't do it without the people who listen to the pod, who throw the likes and subscribes on there and wherever you're listening, who sign up for the site, vincerix.com, $9.99 for the weekly, $34.99 for the monthly. You buy a shirt. If you've done any of those things ever, you're a reason we've been able to have this great experience. And that is to say, shout out all the people who have done that. And also, it was just a fun Boots all around.
It was a fun Boots. We had a lot of laughs, a lot of stories, which I'm sure we'll get. We won't give everyone. Some of the subs need to have the stories themselves, but we'll definitely touch on a few of them as we go on with this medium speed greens.
Give me your not favorite necessarily, maybe your favorite, but honestly, all of the plays from a DFS perspective I wanted to talk about this week ended up in the 6K range, but they don't have to be for you. But give me someone from down there that you're high on this week that people should get into their lineups, maybe alongside someone from the, if you can get somebody down in this range, it's going to open up a lot more opportunities.
All right, I'll go all the way. I'll go min price because I'm sure if you're gonna play someone at the top, you're gonna maybe want someone down here. I'll go with the Frenchman, Matt Pavone. Simple flow chart. When you need long and straight drives, you play Matt Pavone, and that is what you need at the Philly Cricket Club. Sight lines off the tee remind me a lot of the sight lines at Torrey Pines off the tee. Obviously, we know he won there and he's played well there before. So it's just a simple flow chart play on Matt Pavone.
Do you want to give the disclaimer that you didn't see him? So this is just purely based on the course.
Yeah. Which is honestly a lot of what Boots is, because when you're at Boots, you get a feel for what you're looking for at the course or at a play. I mean, sometimes a lot of times you see players and you're like, oh, this guy's doing this, he's doing this, but also, so I mean, the perfect example, like we saw 2 years ago, how the TPC Sawgrass was playing and everything revolved around Xander. Like he was like, we need this, and he almost won that. It happens time and time again. So I mean, I'm not saying Pavone's going to win. He's the minimum price in DFS, but I think the course sets up for his style of golf.
Yeah, I think that's totally a fair way to describe it. The guy I really wanted to talk about was a guy who I didn't even know was in the tournament. I'm going to be honest with you.
Harrison Endicott.
Yeah, Harrison Endicott. What a moment that was. That one's honestly too complicated to even explain to the people, but Harrison Endicott is not in the tournament this week. But we showed up. We probably walked for about an hour, and we stumble across the Viking Cup trio of Alex Noren, back from injury. And then I'll say, if there's people out there wondering how Noren was looking,
alive,
fine enough. Like it was classic Noren in the sense that rehearsing the swing so hard. No one is thinking longer and harder about one specific part of their swing than Noren is thinking about the twist. But so he's out there, Lud's out there, and of course Michael Thorbjornsen is with them, a player who's an honorary Viking Cup member, of course. He's also a bent guy. He's a Northeast guy. And I've learned some things about him since we were there that I wanted to tell you, because you may not know these things about Mike T. Because we saw him generationally strapping off the tee. The wedges were not as dialed, but like watching him in next to Lud, and Lud played great too. This isn't a diss on Lud. How could you really tell the difference between Mike T and Lud if you didn't know?
Off the tee. No. Yeah. I agree.
And they're both around the similar like age and parts of their career. Obviously, Lud's had more success so far, but he's a few years older than Mike T is right now. They're talking to each other like they're bros. They're of the same like college era to some extent. So you add then the fact that this man went to college or went to high school in Boston. He won the U.S. Junior Amateurs at Baltusrol. Want to know who designed Baltusrol?
The same
Tillinghast.
designer as Philly Career. Tilling motherfucking ass.
So he won Travi, Mike
Who
T
could forget?
at 6,400. I don't know if I'm going to bet him. I don't think he has a real chance of winning the tournament. He could finish top 10. He could finish top 5, maybe. But yeah,
Isn't
Mike
the
T.
PGA at Baltz in like 3 years?
Do you think we should get in early?
Get in early, yeah. We should hit up Circa. Give us like a 400.
Yeah, hold on. Let's see what year that is.
I think it's 28.
2029.
PGA Championship.
Yep. I would almost guarantee you Mike T wins that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We'll pencil that one in. Why even play it? I can always guarantee. It could be. Yeah. No. Mike T. Mike T. Phillips maybe 1-2.
Speaking of when you were talking about judging what you see as like the keys for the course versus guys who see they're just striping drink boots and so on and so forth. I know, or at least I think I know, that you probably didn't bet. Actually, I know for a fact you didn't bet him because he was most tipped. And I think when we have these opportunities also on the pods on Tuesday nights, we know the chart is out now, Jers.
I did a great job avoiding it this week. Really great job.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you.
Like visually avoiding it.
Because we've had long discussions on this pod before about my relationship with Keegan Bradley and how every time I bet him, he putts terribly. He's befuddled. He's standing over 3-footers like he's never golfed before. He doesn't understand what to do. And then if I'm thinking about betting him or he's in my mind as a player that should play well and I don't bet him, he's doing the bow to his putter. He's bowing to his putter. He's handing it to his caddy. They're cutting to him on, the coverage are like, let's cut to Keegan on 15. He's jamming one in from 40 feet that hits the hole at full speed, like bounces up in the air. And
Travelers, the downhill one, like that would have went in the water.
Yeah. So that's what happens when I don't bet Keegan. I think we need to have a public open discussion about Keegan this week because he was striping the ball into another dimension. We've never seen Keegan always stripes in practice rounds. This was another level, and this was one of the most dimensional practice round performances that I've ever seen. But at the same time, he's been putting so bad. He has multiple putters out there. I just know I'm going to get it wrong. He's most tipped. It doesn't make sense. I don't know what to do.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to say this, and this might make you make a decision right now. I think it was one of the best overall boost performances we've ever seen. Truly dimensional.
It so good. And I think the hard part is it's like if Keegan goes on to play bad this week, people are going to be like, oh my God, you guys said Keegan was striping. He was. Like, I don't know what else to say. The man was hitting it over bunkers that only Rory McIlroy was hitting it over. We walked for the first shot we saw of him was on 10 because we'd seen him on the putting green forever. And to his credit,
which could be a concern.
But I did tell you that when I did see him on the putting green, he made every putt on the putting green, which doesn't matter whatsoever. I don't factor that in any way, shape, or form, but it was better than him if I'd seen him missing all of them. But the first shot we saw was on 10, which we talked about last night, difficult hole, bunker on the left. We had seen no one even come halfway to clearing the bunker on the left. Nobody was even trying. They would either hit in the bunker, they weren't trying to carry it, or they would just be in the fairway, but about equal distance. It's coming at us. We're like, oh, that looks like it's headed for the bunker. Cleared it by 10 yards into the fairway. And now he has a flip wedge instead of the shorter mid iron or like short to mid iron, 8 to 8 iron versus wedge. That's huge on a hole like 10. And then the rest of the holes, he just continued. It was truly generational.
Putting on a truly dimensional display of ball striking. We saw him play a ton. And it was consistent. It was confident. Looked great with the wedges. A little shaky with the irons, but it was just overall ball striking. And he was as locked in, I want this, as I've seen a golfer. Northeast bent course. It doesn't get more Keegan than that. As calm course to Bethpage. He wants what he wants, and we know what he wants. And this is a great setup.
And what he wants is America behind him. And as we said, the city of Philadelphia, We were downtown Philadelphia last night. We
Love
felt
him or hate him.
victory. America will be behind Keegan if he plays well. All of this said, I'm leaning towards not betting him.
It's almost like it's almost too obvious. And we're mature enough to realize golf betting is not that easy. It's almost like too obvious. It doesn't happen that it happens every now and then. Like, it was too obvious. BG and Noves at the Zurich. That was obvious.
I wouldn't say that
This is one of
anywhere
them.
is obvious because they weren't most tipped on the week. There's a
No,
lot of
no, you're right. You're right. You're
there's a lot
right.
of people who didn't. And that's the crazy thing. I think that
I was shocked to see that.
I was surprised too. But the thing is, he was already most tipped. Most people didn't see what we saw. Like we said, he
I
was
mean,
striping.
I'm sure no one saw what we saw.
Yeah, but we've told people that he was striping, so it's not like we're the only people who know. But it's obvious because people think Keegan Northeast bent course, and then you add in the fact that he truly, it was yeah. I don't know what else to say. Like people who
I'm running out of words.
time will be like, oh, these guys, are hyping up Keegan so much. I've watched Keegan in practice rounds for 3 years, and he always hits it nice, and this was just different. But all of that to say, people are probably like, why wouldn't you bet him? I don't know. I just don't think he's actually going to win, and there might be other people that I want to go to. I don't know.
And listen, I have to say two things right now. First of all, the ethos of our show, of our betting styles, we are strictly talking in outright markets 99.9% of the time. Keegan should be fine elsewhere, DFS, placement. We're just talking winning the golf tournament, which is 99.9% of the bets you make will lose. And then secondly, he was hitting the ball so well, and you guys know how if you're a longtime listener, we say some crazy Vinceric slang, which we're soon releasing a dictionary for. We created a new word for Keegan because he was hitting it that good, and we weren't thinking what are we going to say? It came naturally because it was just pure brains coming together. What he was doing was so dimensional, and that's the word.
Yeah, it really was. And when you do the Boots report, you have to come up with new words to be able to describe the difference in what you're seeing out there. And yeah, it was a hell of a performance from Keegan. I know if you're listening to this and you have bet Keegan this week, or you've got a lot of action on whatever it may be, you probably don't want me to bet him, honestly, because it never goes my way with Keegan. And so we'll see. I'm leaning out right now, but I'm not committed. We'll see where I end up, and obviously that will be up on the site tomorrow. Okay, back to the DFS board. Who else do you have your eyes on the DFS board this week?
All right, I'll go up towards the 7K range. I'll go towards the bottom. I went to the bottom of the 6K range. I'll go to the bottom of the 7K range. Another guy we didn't see much of, but if you're asking for a golf course that you want to be plus distance or plus off the tee, plus on approach, spike putter, and the around the green doesn't really matter, that's basically exactly what Rasmus is doing right now. And we saw him for a glimpse. It wasn't anything to write home about. But I think at the price of 7K and for the ceiling that he has, and this course is asking exactly what he's doing at the moment. So I'll ride with Rasmus down here.
I was surprised. I didn't realize how bad Bez has been playing, because I just haven't been paying attention, obviously, to Bez. Why would she be following Bez? There's really no need to most of the time, unless, of course, he's heading over and playing the Alfred Dunhill or something like that, and he's favorite. You got to keep your eyes peeled in a moment like that. But I've never seen a guy whose ball striking stats are so bad, and what I saw with my eyes, and the ball striking was so beautiful, because he's so steady. And this is a course where if you're just steady, what can go wrong? And I think he'll be completely off of anybody's radar, as he should be. But if you're looking for a guy who you want some reason of hope that he can outperform what his numbers have been, I'm in at Bez at 6,300. No cut. Work your way up steadily with the putter. You can make every single putt that he sees the entire week. And it was beautiful. He was flushing. I was surprised at how bad he's been playing, honestly.
No, I definitely agree with you there. And this, he was playing so bad ahead of the waste management. And that was the only time he gained on approach all season long. And I was as hot. and I was a super, super high on him, bet him at 200 to 1, and he mixed. And this is very similar to what I saw at the Waste Management boots. So I totally avow what you say, and I'm can confirm the eye test from Bez was as good as I've seen since Phoenix.
And
And
I
that's
think,
looks crazy. That was only time he gained on approach all season.
and that is crazy. As you were saying that, I was like, damn, that's insane. Fourth last year at Memorial, 223 at Travelers. I like that. But he's also the example of a guy. Another guy I like down here is Harris English. There's guys who we didn't see Harris, but it just the type of guys who are steady enough, comfortable in this region, and can make putts. Because if you're making putts, I don't think, and we've written a lot on the site, and there's a lot up there about how we feel about what the course keys are going to be.
5,067 words, I think.
There you
It's
have
a
it.
lot.
It's a lot. But there's guys who are going to be able to make putts and finish in the top 10, regardless of what they do elsewhere. I don't think you can win that way. I want a much more balanced player in the outright market. But a guy like Bez, who I saw with my eyes swinging the club nicely, just get on the greens enough times. I like Bez. And then a guy like Harris, we know what he can do in this neck of the woods, and he can make putts. So a different style of guy maybe than most of the guys I'll talk to or will be up on the site. But I thought Bez and Harris were interesting for those same reasons.
Yeah, I do agree with you. Do you want me to give you another one? A
Yeah.
DFS player? Or?
Why not?
All right, I'll go to the 8K range now. A guy that we kind of had mixed feelings around. I'll stay towards the bottom because this is just vibey. Bottom of the 8K range, Min Woolley, $8,200. I like what he could do with the driver. I think if he's driving it really long, not even necessarily straight, but just long and have more distance on the field, hit greens with wedges. He's had a wedge resurgence this year. He's kind of figured out the wedges. The middle and long irons are always an issue with Minwoo, but you're going to get a bit of wedges, and especially if he's longer. I like Minwoo to possibly pop in that regard. Good price too.
There you have it. The rest of the DFS plays, the rest of the outrights will be up on the site. And the reason I wanted to pivot to one more conversation here, because I had Bez in my mind, and it reminded me of the end of the day, because we had the opportunity, because of the ability to see so many players, that we could see. We were able to boots at such an efficient level because we were able to get around, see all sorts of different things during the day. And we kind of seen everybody that we wanted to see, all the guys near the top of the board. We had a general sense of, we always end up as you're leaving boots, you have a sense of the handful of guys you're interested in for the week or you think will play well. But we've said it also a million times, we're not range reporters, Jers, and explain to people why. And you were somebody who used to be a range reporter. Your first boots ever, I think, you went and you watched the range. We've learned long ago you can't learn anything on the range. And why is that?
Yeah, before I took before I got the chance to hang out with Adam at Boots and learn the ropes and make this a successful operation over the last 2 years, I was not even tasked. I was bootsing at my own local PGA National for the Honda Classic, or I believe, or whatever it was at that point. And I didn't know what to do. I sat in the range all day, watched guys stripe, watched guys struggle, watched guys tinker. What the golfers do on the range is objectively meaningless. And if you're out there, if you're listening to someone who says I've got something, not to discredit anyone, but to just see on the range, it's totally different than what they're doing on the course, because guys work on things on the range every single day, whether they're, for example, Justin Thomas is coming off of a win and he's acting like he just learning how to swing again. And on the course he looks amazing and he's going to play fine this week. Watch them on the course. The range is for subtle nuances that, I mean, unless someone's actively, they're like really grinding with a coach and going through crazy feels, which we've seen a few times with Vic and Colin. The range is not for reporting, but we saw some funny things on the range today.
Well, and I was going to say too, I think what you just said there is like, it can be more interesting sometimes if a player, especially a top player, you mentioned Vic or Colin, for example, who's doing something completely out of the ordinary of what they normally do. Like when the top players are dialed at the end of the day, they're dialed and they kind of do their routines and they do the same thing. And when it kind of stands out as being different, that's one thing. But we say that just because we were out on the course all day. And then I looked at you and I said, why don't we just go watch the range? Not from a boots perspective, not necessarily to
Yeah,
make,
just chill on the way out. Yeah.
because outside, I love boots. I love being out on the course. Purely take out like how anything that's to do with how you think the players are going to play in the tournament. Purely from if you like golf and you want to see generational flushing, that's what the range is for. And it was fun to stand there and watch these guys stripe, because when they're not on the course and it doesn't matter where the ball goes and they don't care, it's comical stuff.
Yeah, I mean, you can just, it's a professional golfer hitting a golf ball with no regards. It's fun stuff. Every single guy doesn't miss center of the club face. And I guess I'll touch on the example of Seabez, who was having a display with the center of the club face and the wedges. It was, when you look in the dictionary and look up the word tempo, that's what you get. You get Christian Bezuidenhout on the range, because it was just some unruly stuff.
It really was. I think the one that I want to talk about, and the guy you mentioned a few minutes ago, JT is sitting there hitting, I don't know, maybe 7, 8 iron. As I turned to you and I said, he's the greatest player to ever play. Like, the way he hits the ball is a joke. It is perfect. There's nothing possible that could be better than what he's doing. And after every swing, he's going over and watching a video of himself swinging. And I asked you, it's like, what is he looking for? He could try to explain to somebody what he's looking for, and no one would ever understand, because only he can see it. And that's probably why he's as great of a golfer as he is. But it's still just mind blowing to see that. Like,
Yeah.
what is he looking for?
And that just fits into the ethos of Justin Thomas as a whole. Like, everything he does is like, what are you doing, dude? Just hit the shot that you need to hit and stop overthinking everything. But like you said, that's what makes him a multi-time major championship, 17-time PGA Tour winner or something like that. Yeah, it was just hilarious stuff, because he was acting like he hadn't won last week. He can't swing the club, and he's just trying to break it down. It's just funny things you see like that.
And I think actually the funniest thing that we saw this week was the overall Dietrich experience on the range. We talked about Dietrich yesterday, and that he looked like he literally just showed up out of the blue at the course and was like, oh, there's golf going on here, like wearing what he was wearing at that moment, grabbing his driver and just ripping it on the range. He only hits his woods and his driver. All the other guys are going through all their clubs nice and slowly. Dietrich will come and go from the range in the time that most guys go through like 4 clubs, and 80% of his shots are just swinging out of his shoes with the driver. The most driver putter player to ever exist. And I love him. We've always loved Dietz, but I love him even more after seeing him the last 2 days. I think that's one of my ongoing takeaways that'll live with me after Philly.
And we've talked about Dietrich as the ultimate driver putter for so long, and just confirms he hit like 8 drivers at 8 woods, and that was it. His session was done, and went to the putting green. He doesn't practice his irons because he knows what his game is.
And the final thought from the range report is Nick Dunn is practicing golf as if everything in his game is of equal importance in needing to improve, and that like he's just like everybody else, and that he should just be working, a little bit on everything. Why does he practice his putting and his short game, which we saw him doing? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
You're gonna listen to this and be like, yeah, because he knows putting is important. You gotta practice on everything. He is losing strokes off the tee at a level never before seen in the history of the sport.
That honestly is probably true.
Never before seen. He needs to be hitting driver more than Tiger Woods has ever swung in a day. We know what's wrong. Wrist diagnosed it, and we also have another reason as to why it's wrong. Nick Dunlap, come on the pod.
And that's why if wrist hadn't given us such a clear path forward for fixing it, I would be like, okay, maybe he knows there's no hope, and he's like, my only hope of like even finishing anywhere from last place this week is to make some putts. That's whatever. But wrist has the answer, and wrist could have flown out to Philly, gotten on the range with Nick, and gotten things dialed. I was going to find a way to be in on Nick Dunn this week. I wanted to find a way, as I think, as somebody who famously said that Jack's record was in jeopardy, I'm always looking for positive signs from Nick Dunn. I don't understand why he's practicing everything as if it's fun.
There's like three chances to go OB in 18 holes. He will find those chances. Probably all of them.
They're the right miss too, which is
yeah
concerning. But he'll probably putt good. He'll make some putts. Nobody will be rooting for Dunn harder than us Well, there'll probably be some people rooting harder for them than us, but we're behind him through this difficult stretch nonetheless. But I feel also kind of bad. Like I'm talking to Mike T now. It's like I'm leaving done in the dust for the next young gun out there. We'll see. Anything else for the folks from the week? Obviously, Myrtle Beach is to come. That'll be up on the site. The DP is to come. That'll be up on the site. LPGA will be up on the site. Anything else for the people?
Yeah, as always, no free ads. But if you're in Philly, check out the Black Taxi. Heard good things about the Black Taxi pub or bar. Apparently, the best Guinness in town.
I looked it up because I was going to put in the Boots report, and I wanted to look it up just make sure. What if it was?
It was real. Yeah.
Yeah. What if it had like 1-star reviews, and you can't be out there wrapping 1-star review bars? It had good reviews, and people seemed very happy with it. But we were told that it is the best Guinness in Philadelphia. So if you're out there in Philadelphia, go check it out. Overall, good experience in Philly. There was people were saying that
Great Max. Great Max.
We were not there long enough to have a strong opinion, but you drive outside the city, you got all the old like colonial times houses. The vibe's good. It's America, and that's why Keegan probably wins this week. And I won't bet him, and he'll be bowing to everybody. And they're going to put a statue of Keegan bowing to the putter next to the Rocky statue in downtown Philadelphia.
Next to the wall.
Next to the wall in the middle of the course. Speaking of the wall, one last thing. The logistical challenge. Should we be concerned about the logistical challenges of getting players from the club to the range?
Yeah, we might as well bring it up because we brought up some logistical challenges before Valhalla. So yeah, touch on the logistical challenges of getting the club.
As we talked about yesterday, there's a wall that goes through the middle of the course. And as we talked about yesterday as well, the wall is one of the sickest parts of Philadelphia Cricket Club, probably the sickest part of Philadelphia Cricket Club. And your day is determined by which side of the wall you're on. And when you're on one side of the wall, you're talking about, should we go to the other side of the wall? And when you're on that side,
it's Game of Thrones. I promise you guys, Adam, you've never seen it, but it is Game of Thrones.
I have seen enough Game of Thrones to be familiar with the wall.
Okay.
But yeah. And you're trying to find a reason to go through the wall. The problem is, because, as we talked about yesterday, this is one more thing on Vic also. They changed the routing of the course. We talked about this. 11 finishes is normally 18. 12 is 1, going back the other way. Vic played today by starting on 12, which is actually the first hole in front of the clubhouse. That's commitment to history. That's commitment to doing things the right way. And I was extra high on Vic because he did that. But because of the changed routing, to get from the clubhouse to the range and ultimately either the first and 10th tee, there's a lot of driving around through the course. But obviously they're not hosting PGA Tour tournaments at Philadelphia Cricket Club ever. And because of that, you have to drive dead through the center of the course, through the opening in the wall. And you almost got run over multiple times. The players are going back and through. And this was with no fans there whatsoever. You start getting people there, I don't even understand how it's going to work.
Yeah, because it's legitimately a pedestrian walkway through the wall. The wall's open, and I don't know how they're going to manage it. I really don't, unless they really just block off that road. But it's just where you'd walk in between holes. It was so just if you're there on the weekend, just report back to us. How are they handling it? Because guys are going to have to come back and through because they're going to go to the range after the round. So it's something to monitor. If something happens, you heard it here first.
If they don't let the common fan go through the wall, then don't even have the tournament.
Wow, imagine you had to stay on one side. No, there's no way.
That would.
Well, you'd have to go around. You're saying, oh, that would be crazy.
I'm saying there's only one way, and it's like up and around.
Yeah.
Let's finish with this. 4 people are going. There's got to be somebody listening to this podcast who's going to go to the tournament this week. Where would you go to watch golf this week at Philadelphia Cricket Club?
Good question. There's a few decent spots. I think the 15-18 tee is pretty cool. 15-18 tee, you can see shots from two green. You can see shots from 2 green, and you can see guys rip driver off of 15 and 18. And if you walk up a little bit, you can see guys hit it in from 13 green or.
Yeah. Well, yeah, no, 14's the green's there, 17, 3T. Like, yeah, that's a very clustered part of the course. I agree with you. Also, then I guess kind of reasonably far away on the other side would be like around 10 green, 6 green, 4 and 5, that kind of area of 13T. Like, I think it will be a good spot for the most part for watching the tournament this week. And at the end of the day, I hope it's a sick tournament. I hope we get some guys in the mix. I hope some people have a good tournament. if you listen to this pod or up on the site. I'm excited, Jers. Should be good, and I appreciate you all the hard work during the week.
Always a great time. I'm excited for the results this week, excited for the subscribers, and thank you again for supporting us. Can't wait to do it again next week.
All right. See you then.